Hey guys, I think we're live. Counting down. Yes. Okay. Hi. Sorry for the delay. And then you see my fingers over here. um. So yes, I am streaming from a different space today, and forgot a few things. So that's why I am a little behind. But we're here. We have a good signal, and we're gonna go ahead and get going. So just like in my description, I said we're gonna go over. Got some couple of magazines, and I'm just gonna pick through the uh, different poses that are in here, trying to stick with kind of the sports poses because they have the most dynamism and action. I apologize for when I move. There's this bright light behind me, but I don't have like extension cords and all that stuff here to move this um, farther to where it's, I've got the light. Or actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, maybe if I lift it up. I'm not sure how well that's going to work. Because it still needs to be, well, we do the best we can here. Turn it. Yeah, I don't know. Sorry about that, guys. Bear with me. I'll try to keep it so that my head blocks it. And then also, you won't always have to see that little thumbnail of me in there anyway. All right, so the first one, which is the cover for the live stream, which is, I know it's like super shoestring budget kind of covers that I have right now for these live streams, but that's what I can manage right now with everything. So I'm going to go through these poses. The first pose is what was the cover, and so I put line of action, LoA, and then the bean. So the line of action is always going to come from the top of the pose down to the bottom of the pose. It's not always going to be like, oh, it's right on the head or right on the feet. But it'll be an approximation because usually the head is at the top and usually the feet are on the bottom. But if this is an acrobat or somebody's doing something upside down, or they're doing a handstand or like a breakdancing pose, it's not necessarily going to be the head at the top. Most of the time it is, but not always. And then the bean is something that it's going to go from the pit of the neck here down to right around your belly button. So on him, I actually probably need to have it come just a little bit lower. But so your bean is roughly right there. And they're more egg-shaped than circle-shaped or oval-shaped. And then we got from the bottom of the pelvis up through the bottom of the ribcage. So they are going to overlap a little bit. And just think of the overlap part as like, the guts in your midsection where you're able to turn it. Oh, sorry. You're able to turn and twist and bend in your middle. And then, of course, the rest of it is just the joints and then the rhythm of the limbs. So we're going to go through this with a few different poses out of these magazines to try to illustrate it as clearly as possible to help you guys start finding it on your own. And then it'll make it easier when you go try to draw all this stuff. And I will also go ahead and turn on the music, right? I guess I should use my monster cat thing sometimes. Let's see. I need to sign in. Oh, booger. Well, won't worry about that one now. We'll just do this here. And we'll do... Let's do some funk. And we'll do some instrumental and quirky funk. Let's do that. Hopefully it's not too loud. Let's hear it again. Wrong one. Alright. So, here we go. Alright, you guys tell me. I'm going to turn this down a little bit. You guys tell me if it's too loud or not in the comments. Okay, so next one. Let's see what we got here. Now, all poses are not created equal. So let's see. This is Men's Health magazine. Let's see what we got here. A lot of writing. So this is, I'm doing it like this. I know it's not like the most terribly exciting thing, but this is, I like to demonstrate for you guys what it really is. You know what I mean? Like, you're not gonna just be like, there really aren't many magazines where, oh, we could do that. There aren't many magazines where it's gonna be just all these cool, awesome poses that you really want to draw. That's not really how that works. So we'll do this one here. So even though this is not a full body, we can still find a line of action. Line of action, like I said, top of the pose down to the bottom of the pose, even though this isn't the full figure. So we're going to come through the top of the head, and it's going to come down here, and it's just going to curve out in the torso and down through the hips. So it's just going to be one of those. Right? And then, even though it's a side pose, that's okay. It's more of a profile thing. So then we've still got, the pit of his neck is over there, so we've still got the bean coming down about here. It's going to look a little bigger because it's more of a close-up, right? And then his the bottom of his butt is roughly around here. And that, knowing where that is, just comes from a lot of experience drawing naked people. So you understand where things are under the clothes. And so we're going to come up through here, right? And then it's going to look a little weird because it's a profile view, but basically that's the bean right there. And then, let's see, let's pick a different color. And then we've got sort of the joint for the neck, right? Well, that's not a different color, is it? Purple. We've got this here. We've got the shoulder joint, elbow, and then the wrist behind there. The head, which we don't draw much of with the quick pose, right? But we got the cranium, and that's connecting down here to the neck. And then we've got his jaw there. So then what you end up with, right? Roughly that. And then you've got the neck coming out, okay? So then, neck, or base of the neck, shoulder, elbow, and then you'd have the rhythm of the arms, and then we've got his hand, which is behind the weight. The joint for the leg is there too, but since we can't really see the leg, we're not going to worry about that. But that's pretty much it. That's the practice when you draw over the top of these poses to find these basic things, because everything that you're going to draw for the figure, I'm going to turn this down a little bit because I feel like I'm talking over it too much. Everything that you're going to find for the figure has to be built off of these things, right? It's really important to find the line of action because it allows you to have the flow and the directionality of like the foundation of the pose, right? It's like your first armature is what you build the rest of it off of. And then the bean helps you because your torso is like the root, basically, of your body. Everything comes out of there, right? Your neck comes out of your torso, your limbs come out of your torso, and the position of your torso generally dictates the position of everything else. So let's see what we can find what else we could find in this magazine. Well, these are really teeny tiny, but you can kind of do a similar thing. We're just gonna, it's gonna be a little bit harder because they're so small, but we can at least do a line of action for this. So like, also a line of action doesn't have to be super smooth, right? So if someone is got an actual like angle. So right, so like we've got like a right angle with this guy where he's squatting with his butt. So we can, when we're drawing this kind of thing, we can just go, okay, well here's this, it's gonna go like this, right? And so that looks like that. That still captures where everything on the body is. For this one over here, this is still another kind of right angle, right? So we're gonna just, but we're not gonna try to capture everything going on with the legs because we can't. Not with the line of action was. So the motion is flowing up and down, and that's it. So the line of action for this is just like that. It's just a really simple, smooth S-curve. And then from there, you would go in and like, it's really tiny, but you feel like your head, and then you've got your bean, right? And then everything would go from there. So I'm actually gonna find a bigger one because I think it's gonna be harder for you guys to see otherwise. These poses here, when people are facing straight on, those are not the most interesting poses. And honestly, it's just, it's a lack of movement that it makes them feel more stiff because they are, you know, you're just facing, standing straight in front. If your arms are to the side, which his effectively are, especially in this first one right here, all you get with that kind of thing is like, okay, well, your line of action is pretty much that. It's just a straight static line. And the lines that make drawing more interesting, the lines that make poses and figures and just composition in general more interesting, are not straight up and down lines. They need to be at minimum horizontal. And even when they're just straight across, that's usually not that interesting. It's not very dynamic. It doesn't give you motion. Usually motion is going to be more of your diagonals and your curves. And then it's like a combination of your curves and your straights, right? That has more energy in it. So when you see these kind of just run-of-the-mill, straight up and down, I don't know, cop's gonna frisk you pose, this is not awesome. It's great for exercise, obviously, in these pictures. It's good for postures for certain things, but it's not the most interesting for drawing. The other reason that it's not interesting for drawing is that it only gives you, it's kind of like looking at a plane of a box. Like if you guys think of a cube, right? When I draw a cube this way, right, it's more interesting. I can draw through the whole thing to try to get like that three-dimensionality even more so. If I was, this version of a pose straight ahead like that is basically like looking at just the single face of a box. So you can't get enough information. It just doesn't have enough energy and interest, right? Nothing wrong with it, but as far as a composition of a figure, it's you know. So let's see what else we got here. I had to ask my partner to go run and get me some magazines, and surprisingly, getting magazines with interesting poses is not the most interesting and intuitive simple thing anymore. You gotta go to, probably have to go to like a Barnes and Noble or something to have a bigger selection of magazines, I guess. This will be interesting because they're all really dark, so I might have to just indicate. Let's see, what's interesting. These are not terribly interesting. They're all very angular. They're not terribly interesting. This is interesting just because it's going up like this. This one kind of looks like he's swearing fealty or something, so that's a little bit more interesting. But not terribly interesting poses to draw. It's like too many angles and not enough curves. So let's see what else we got. Ahaha, this one's better. Yeah, it's much more better. We'll try to fold this. Okay, so here, yes, we have motion. So the fun thing about that, say hi. Hi. The fun thing about this is that it's photography in motion, right? They're catching him doing something. And they've just got like a really fast shutter speed to try to catch that. so that you don't have all the blur, right? So the most interesting poses that you can draw, just for fun, quick pose stuff, or for designing a character or a figure doing any kind of action, is you draw them going into the action or you draw them coming out of the action, right? And so this is in the midst of the action, but he's still coming into and out of each of those swings of the rope. So this is more interesting because of, it's creating that motion, and then the lines going up and leading into him make this a little bit more interesting because they literally lead in and point to him, right? So as far as the rest of the pose, let's have a look. His line of action, it's not straight up and down. He is tilted a little bit, so it's more like that, right? Now, obviously, you're not always going to land on the foot, you're not always going to be on the head, but because his weight is not straight up and down, half the left and half on the right, it's a bit more interesting. And then, of course, we get his bean. So here's the pit of his neck, right? And then we're gonna go down to around here. So we're gonna come like, here's the bean, the top part of the bean, and then here's the bottom part. It's gonna come up there, right? And then from there we get the line of the shoulders, right? It's just basically we're saying that like the collarbone here, and we're gonna just go like this, and then we've got shoulder, shoulder, elbow, elbow. You guys remember? Here's the elbow. Let me show you a cool thing. Okay, so consider that there's this arch, right? So from your belly button, your elbows are always going to be on that line or that arch of your belly button. So once you establish the torso, you can find everything you need for the head, the neck, the shoulders, arms, everything else, because you can measure off the torso. So even if his arm was like, I could say, hey, I want his arm to be up here. Then I just stay on that curve, and then I could draw his arm up here if I was going to change that, and then it would be like, and then I'll have to draw his hands and all that. Obviously that looks like way too big, but it just gives you an idea. You could change the position if you understand what the angle and arcs are supposed to be. So then his arm comes down here. This is for shortening because his arm's in front, right? This one comes down. Here's the wrist. We'll just do boxes for the hands. And then on his hips, now you're going to have, there's an angle of the hips. Once you get past the bean, you can actually just be like, okay, well, here's the bean, right? Bean, bean. And the angle of the hips matters too. So you've got an angle of the shoulders and an angle of the hips. In this pose, he's got them squared up, right? Which is for stability. And then in real life, the joints are going to be on the end of that hip line there. And then you've got, obviously, knees. You've got the ankles. So we've got, okay, so this is going to come here, and then there, here, and then there, and then just do some wedgie triangles for the foot for now. I'm not going to worry too much about that for quick pose stuff. So hopefully that is making sense to you guys. I think I mentioned in my last live drawing stream, there is a difference between studying for quick pose and studying for anatomy and life drawing, and you are not going to want to do or to try to do both at the same time, because it gets confusing, and then it makes you miss the essential points of each one, kind of, if that makes sense. So like for quick pose, the most important thing is, your line of action, your bean, the angle of the shoulders, angle of the hips, and then an indication of the joints, just so that you can grow from there your rhythm of what the limbs are doing, okay? But everything else is secondary to line of action, because that gives you your directionality, and your bean, because that gives you everything else, right? It allows you to draw everything else from there. So let's see. This one's okay. It's not the full pose, but it's pretty close. So let's see. We've got, from here, we're coming through, and yeah, so we're gonna go like this. Now, you see it doesn't necessarily go straight in with the legs, because if this was to continue, his feet would end up, you know, obviously in front, right? Because his feet stick out, so it would come down. Yes, the legs are back here, but then his feet are gonna poke out this way. So here's our line of action, and then our bean. So pit of the neck is here. His shoulders are raised, but the bean is still gonna be right there. And then the bottom of his pelvis is probably about there. So we've got, that's his bean. And then we've got his cranium, right? So that's under the nose, the back, and around. Doesn't really include the hair, right? The hair sits on top of the skull, coming out of the scalp. And then we've got the jaw right there. Eyeline, all that. His shoulder angle, we could just go like this, and then his hips are pretty much also doing that, because he is squared up, but we're looking at him at a 3/4 view. So, and then the process is the same. We found our line of action, we've got our bean, we've got our angle of hips and shoulders, and now we're just going to be like, okay, well, here are the shoulders. Here, now if I was drawing it just really real time without identifying all this stuff right away, I would be like, okay, so here's my angle of the shoulders, and then like here's my arm, and here's this arm, and here's my hips, here's my leg, and here's this leg. Not necessarily going to plot out all of the joints every single time. If I'm actually like, I'm in a 30-second pose, I'm in a 1-minute pose, I need to know all this stuff, because that is how I capture the essence of the pose, right? But it's not, how can I say it? It's a step-by-step thing that you eventually don't have to think about quite so much. Eventually it becomes more like a muscle memory kind of thing. So let's see. Got a lot of stuff about what of the writing part. Okay, this is a good one. This is a pretty decent one. So now we don't have anybody straight on. We've got a bit of motion. We've got a different distribution of weight. So that's all helpful. So what we can do is say, okay, well, let's look at the curve here. Okay, so this is, so we're gonna, that's pretty much the curve of that's our line of action right there, okay? So then, now it's okay that the line of action is not directly in his, so his center line is here. It's okay that our line of action is not directly on the center line, it's fine. We just need that to give us directionality and a jumping off point, right? So here we go. Pit of the neck is there, so we gotta come up over there. That's around his belly button. Here's the bottom. We're gonna come up, right? And then so we've got his angle of his shoulders is like that, whereas his hips are kind of like that. So we've got kind of this situation going on, up a little bit up and to the side. And then like that, I mean, it gets repetitive after a while, so I don't want to bore you guys, but once you've gotten your line of action being angle of shoulders and hips, it really does just become like, okay, here are the shoulders, and then now I'm going to find the hands and the rhythm of the arms, and okay, I got my hips, here's the leg, and here's the other leg, and then you've got your indications for your feet. So I don't mean to say that to make it seem like it's super easy, because at first it's really doesn't feel easy because you're learning how to see, and then your hand is trying to catch up with your brain. But it's once you get the hang of it, I guess, and knowing what to see, it's not too bad. This is not the most interesting pose for quick pose figure drawing. It would be a more interesting pose because of muscle. So if you're studying anatomy, this is not a bad reference for back anatomy. So say you're studying anatomy and you want to be like, hey, I need to practice the back muscles, and you've gone through and you've learned like the muscle group shapes, and not gonna lie, it's really not necessary to learn all the names, but you do want to know like trapezius, and this is right here is going to be your trapezius right here. That's going to be your trapezius, right? And then your lats are over in here. This is scapula. That's probably not the right shape. There it is. Scapula, and it goes like that. So it's important to know some of these things because you have to know what you're drawing, right? And the other reason that it's important is because then you know what is connecting to what, and when you know what's connected to what and what shape it is and how they relax and contract, you can make up any character, any figure with any level of musculature that you want, right? Same thing with if you're making them with body fat, but body fat deposits are not like, there's a general location for fatty deposits for men and for women, but not everybody carries their weight the same. So that is a little, I don't want to say harder, but it's just a little, I want to say it's a little bit more involved, I guess. So what else do we have here? The exercise poses are not quite as interesting and dynamic as I was thinking that they would be. Not gonna lie. They're not bad, but they're not. And this could just be because it's a very. Ooh, that one's fun. You guys know why that one's fun? Because it's hard. Really not the most fun as far as let me find the line of action. Let me find the bean. Why? Foreshortening. Right? So it's not really like the rules change exactly, but there's a lot of stacking, and I'll show you guys what I mean. So his line of action is still not terribly interesting just because he's still, like we were pointing out, way back over here somewhere. He's still like straight on, right? So it's not the most interesting pose to begin with, but the thing that makes it a little bit more interesting is because now we have perspective. We have his body shapes seeming to visually stack on top of each other because his head is up here close to us, his head and shoulder girdle, and then but his feet are way back here, and so they're off in the distance, they're back in space and perspective, and then we've got the focus on his head and shoulders and arms, which is why the rest of it starts to be out of focus, right? So we've got his angle of his shoulders is just right there. His angle of his hips is also going to do that same thing. And the bean is still there, but it's going to look really short, right? And it's going to come up like this because the back of his torso is now looks like it's behind his head. It's not. It's just we're looking at him from this down in front, going back perspective. And then the bottom of his bean is right there. So we've got this stacking situation happening, right? And then of course his head is right there. And we've got just the front, right? The rest of it is still the same, right? So now we're like, okay, here's your shoulders. Arms. And we can put in all the other joints. And just keep it simple there. For his legs, you'd have to just sort of indicate, right? Because you can't see them. But so foreshortening is always going to be harder and more interesting. And that's pretty much, that one's full body but not terribly interesting. But it is a good study in a full body profile, which is pretty good for the shapes and the shapes of the muscles. This one's also not bad. It's got some foreshortening and it is an action shot. So let's see. I'm gonna come through. So we've got our line of actions like this. Right? And then we've got Bean. There's the head. And angle of the shoulders. Angle of the hips, so they're kind of doing this kind of thing. A little bit more angle, like that. And then hips. So, yeah, not bad. Okay, well, how long have we been at it? 30 minutes? Okay, that's not too bad. Alright, so we're going to now take this idea, and I hope that this is helpful for you guys because I know that, you know, not everybody has the time to sit and watch a video full of poses, or, you know, maybe you just have a lot of magazines, a lot of Sports Illustrated or a lot of sports magazines or something. You want to give them new life, and you can use them in this way. The line of action doesn't just work for the figure. I'll have to make a video showing that, but the next one, Michael Jordan. This is like really fun line of action. So what I will do now is, instead of just doing, let's see if you guys can see that. Instead of just doing the identifying, let me find one. Instead of just doing this thing where we identify the line of action and the bean, we're gonna do it. Ah, what did I do? I knocked something over. Ah, there we go. Okay. Instead of just doing that, we're gonna do it, right? But we're gonna do it over here too. So I'm gonna get out my handy dandy lithographic crayon and my marker. And all right, so we've got Michael Jordan, right? Greatest of all time. Although I think LeBron James might be giving him a run for his money on that a little bit. So we've got line of action that's a little bit, like, so we could probably curve. So we've got this going on right here, right? So let's do that over here. And when you practice this enough, you won't have to do one-to-one, right? Line, draw it here, and then draw it here. But it does help when you're new to this, right? So we're gonna draw that, and if it helps to ghost it, then ghost it, right? When you are in front of a model, when you are in front of your reference or one of my videos, whatever, ghost it in the air. And that's just like, hey, I'm gonna make this motion until I feel like I got it where I need it to be, right? So for this one, I'm like, okay, here's this, and if you're not sure, you can go, here's the motion, here's the motion, here's the motion, right? Then you get it on your paper, because you got your hand at practice. And then, since we've got our motion there, I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to put his head. And then, over here we could do the same thing, right? So here's the head. And then we've got his bean. And his shoulder angle, hip angle. Oops. Alright. So here we go. Now you guys notice there's some space here, right? I think the tendency is, oh, okay, I got the head, and now I'm going to put the bean like right there. You got to give some space because there is supposed to be a neck in there, right? So, and this is another reason why this kind of practice is helpful, because then that allows you to visually see, yeah, I gotta separate the head and the cranium with some space, even though you haven't necessarily drawn the neck or an indication of the neck. You still know, okay, I'm gonna put some space here. So then I go, okay, here's his top of his beam, his torso, and the bottom, and I'm keeping those shapes on my line of action. So it gives me an idea of where everything's supposed to go. And then I've got, okay, so seeing that I've got his hip line there, and his shoulders coming up at the top of this beam here. And then I can go ahead and put in his joints. Now, obviously, I can't see the shoulder over here, and that's okay. I'm just gonna kind of indicate the back of it, and then come over here. I just have to stay on the shoulder line. And let me just put this, can't see the other one, let me put it in lightly. And then I just have to put in the rhythm of the limbs. Now this one, excuse me, this one is a little bit different because there's some stacking, there's some foreshortening. His hand is way behind his face. So we're just gonna say, okay, well there's his shoulder, his arm's coming out here. And then you can't really see, but you can see his hand, and we'll just go ahead and like put the ball shape over there, and that's okay. Alright, and then you could say, there's the neck if you want. And then his arm is doing this kind of thing right there, right? So that's just your basic S curve. I don't know if I mentioned that to you guys the last time around about the different curves. So it's, you get S curves, C curves, and then there's like a kind of like a B situation, which is the way the legs look. So the B thing is like, right, so then you get that similar to that on the legs, only it's more like that, right? Where was it? Oh yeah, the arm. So we're gonna come like for the arm, and then let's see, okay, here's his hips. So we're gonna go like that. Comes down, comes around, and then we got the foot. Right? So we're gonna go, let's do that. We're gonna like, okay, comes down. And then this one. Now you gotta remember it's coming out, but it's coming out of this joint, but this joint is behind his butt cheek over here. So we're not actually seeing that joint. So we have to draw through and know that it's gonna be kind of in line with this. And there we go. So we're gonna come down here, we've got the joint. There we go. Right, and then you would just start adding from there. Excuse me, if you wanted to do some details. So it'd be like, at that point, that's when you start, you get a different color. Then we could start being like, okay, well here's, you know, the shirt a little bit, and that's his jersey. Oh wow, that's like they tucked their jerseys in back then. I did not. I just noticed that. And then he's got that kind of, this kind of flat part right here. And it's kind of flat. And over here, it's kind of sticking out, right? And get the folds going. I really need my glasses, y'all. Oh my gosh, my eyes are just punishing me for doing too much close-up work. Right, and then we've got this actual leg. There we go. Now I probably have his legs too short, and that's okay. So his knee is gonna come down here. So that instead of being up there, is gonna come down here. Right? So then we've got And I'm not gonna do everything anatomically correct because you don't need to do that for this. But it is gonna come. We've got to. I'm just gonna eyeball it for the space. Okay, so those are the socks, and then the shoe. Oh, I ran out of space. Right down there. Hopefully, you guys can see all that. Is it? I don't know. I'm running out of space over here. There it goes. Okay. You guys can see that a little bit better. Alright. What else? The other leg and arm would be good, right? Okay. So when in doubt, use plumb lines. So like you guys saw me draw that on the side, you can see how they line up and on what angle, right? So this is going this way. These are going this way. So it's probably going to be a little. I might have his pants a little too low. I do. Those are supposed to be up there. And then his knee. Coming down to here. So his knee is good. So what we got? There we go. One more sock. So I had his foot 2 up high. And now everybody's got a different feeling on this kind of thing, right? But let me see. No chats. Okay. If you guys have questions, please put it in the chat, and then I will try to remember to check. It's just me in here drawing and trying to monitor everything. So let me move this. I mean, you guys don't need to see my mug right now. All right, so you guys can see everything I'm doing. So this is this area right here. I am eyeballing this space for that sock right there. Okay, so here we go. And then of course it's shoe, and that's not the right angle. There we go. And then he's got the big Michael Jordan foot. But hopefully you guys start to see that, you know, the line of action, the bean, everything, that all helps you to build everything else. Oh, excuse me, I'm so sleepy. I had gym day the other day, guys. I'm feeling it. Alright, so here we go. We've got a little bit of his chest coming out, but then we've got arm. And I've got to correct my angle here. So see, I have his arm too low. So that's the, even my line of action, the angle needs to come out this way, right? So then we've got arm, and this elbow, and of course got your sleeve, and tricep, and elbow, blah blah blah. Not that too big. And then he's got this arm pad here, and the rest of his hands. And then what has he got there? He's got some sort of a wristband. And then we've got some thumb, and we're just gonna do an indication of the hand. So, hopefully this shows you guys what you can do, right? When you get comfortable, really comfortable and familiar with placing your line of action, placing your bean, angle of the shoulders, angle of the hips, and then everything else just sort of sprouts out from there. So, we've been going about 45 minutes. Let's take a 10-minute break, because I need to blow my nose from allergies. And also drink water and go to the little girl's room and all that kind of stuff. So, somewhere I have, I have my little break sign. It's super low tech and ghetto, and I don't care. Alright, so we're gonna take a 10-minute break. Okay? Stay. Alright, 10-minute break. You know what? I'm just gonna do that. There we go. Alright, guys, let's do a 10-minute break. I will start the timer on the phone. I have messages. Okay. Timer. Alright, 10 minutes starting now, guys. I will be back. Everybody, please get water, go to the bathroom, whatever you gotta do, and then we'll come back and we'll do a few more poses out of this magazine where we do the same kind of thing, go through the whole process. Okay? Back in 10. Hey guys, if anybody's in here at the moment or not on break, we got 3 minutes left and then we'll be back. And do me a favor, well, I don't think anybody's watching right now, but you guys, I'll mention it later. Leave me comments in the chat. I really have burning questions about what you guys want to see for the summer season. Because I want to do something different to mix things up instead of sort of the same format that happens the other 9 months. But yeah, I'll be back in about 2.5 minutes. Okay. Alrighty, hey guys. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Beep, 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 beep. Alright. Alright, that is the timer sound that the models hear that you guys don't in my videos. I don't actually know how to change it to be a different sound. I'll have to figure that out. Anyway. Alright, Alright, we are good to keep going. So, I'm gonna take this down. Break time over! Itchy. Okay. Alright, so we did Michael Jordan, and it's good to self-check, right? So, I'm gonna go through here and just sort of see where I might need to make adjustments, just as an exercise to help you guys. First thing I notice, I am not long enough, I think, through here. I'm a little short, so right, his hips should probably come down more like this, so that he's a little slimmer, right? And then, so it's not too bad. The rest of it's fine, but I think his torso was a little thick in there. And here. That's okay. That's okay too there. I might be a little high through here maybe, or just not thick enough in the neck. So those kinds of things are good for, I mean, because that's how you get better, right? You have to learn and practice. And then just like, I know a lot of people don't like to math, right? But when you had to go through and correct your math problems from your teacher said, hey, you know, this, you forgot to carry here, you forgot to borrow here, you did the, you know, you accidentally got something, you miscalculated something. You go through and you make the corrections so that you can deepen your understanding and flex that muscle. It's the same kind of thing, right? So that's why I go through, and it's however you guys want to do it, but it's good to look at your reference and just kind of squint and look back and be like, hey, you know, I could probably, like, this needs to come down a little bit. This is probably a little bit too wide. This arm is probably a little too big here. But for the most part, it's okay. Now, to be completely fair and honest, when I first started doing this, which was a long time ago now, I'm older than I look. When I first started doing this, I was 19 or 20. I'm about to be 43 next week. Okay, so I had a lot of drawings that were, and I wish I still had them, but my drawing started off where they told you, okay, you know, scribble, 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 scribble to get the shapes, scribble in the shapes, which is basically kind of like silhouetting, but you were supposed to scribble to get everything. And they had you scribbling all the way down to try to get the whole figure. It is not the most efficient way of doing it or seeing it, but it's a start. I don't recommend it, but hey, you know, whatever floats everybody's boat, if that works better for you. Okay, so let's find, this is more Michael Jordan. If you guys can, in the comments, let me know if you're interested in the comments here, or you know, just in the community chat thing. Let me know. That's another decent one. I need you guys let me know what other content you're interested in for the summer. Like if there's another topic or another area, excuse me, of what I already cover. More of what I already cover, or if you have a specific question. If there's any kind of different formats or questions you want answered. Different types of, you know, if you want to go into like character stuff or portrait stuff or hands and feet, like, let me know. I want to make sure that I'm not only making the content that I think is important and that I like, but also I want to make content that's helpful and useful to everybody, all my subscribers and viewers and channel members and everybody. So, I'm going to have to fold this, right, because I still have to get to my drawing pad here. And let's see. Let's see if we could do the other side. I don't think I have a, let's see. Let's try that. I don't have like a clip or anything, but alright, so for this one, we'll do the same thing. We've got another action in motion pose, right? So we're kind of coming down here and curving in, because the curve here is to show that he's leaning, right? People are either hunched or they're leaning. So in this case, he's leaning, so his curve is like this, and then it's coming down through this leg. So his head is tilting this way, this is turning this way, and it's like that. So this is going to be our line, right? We're going to come down through the head and neck, And we're actually pretty close to the center line here. We're going to curve in here because he is leaning, right? And the camera is catching him in the front, but it's like a foreshortened front a little bit because he's leaning, and then it's slightly to the right. It's not full front, but slightly to the right. So we're going to come turn with the neck, curve in with the bending torso, and then we're going to just go through this leading leg. Another term for the line of action I've heard from a teacher is called the leading edge. It really doesn't matter what you call it, as long as it makes sense to you. And it does need to illustrate the main thrust of the pose, the main thrust of the action, whatever that is. If your action is someone sitting down with, holding their head in their hands and crying, there's a motion to that. It's not the most dynamic motion, right? But there is a motion to that. So there is motion to indicate the emotion, or motion to indicate the action, or both. So that's what the line of action is for. So we've got down through the head and neck, bend for the torso, and then down to the legs. So then we've got bean, and I'm going over it a lot so that it's dark enough for you guys to see. This is the bottom part of the bean there. Angle of the shoulders, angle of the hips. And actually I should probably do it in different colors. Let's see if this shows up. No, purple and pink are not different enough. Sorry, y'all. Okay, so there we go for the bean, and then we'll do. And the orange isn't different enough either. I need a dark blue. That's what I need. All right, so now we have demonstrated on top, right? Line of action. So let's remember what I was saying about the ghosting. So we're gonna ghost through here, and we're gonna do it on this side. So we've got curve, curve, curve. So we got curve, curve, curve. So this is gonna be our line of action over here. And then we've got a little bit different. There is technically still space, right, between his shoulders and the base of his skull, but we can't see that because he is facing us mostly from the front. The camera's facing him mostly from the front. So that space gets a little bit lost in translation because we are demonstrating the front to back shape of the top of the bean. The starting and ending point of the bean doesn't change just because your view changes, right? It's still going to encompass, the pit of the neck, but that's also going to be the back part here. The bean is still a thing, even from a back view. It's just that the shoulders look higher in the back than in the front. So the neck looks shorter in the back than in the front because of the shoulder girdle and the back muscles. So I'm going to say, okay, here's the top of our head. And then I always like to put the cranium in, and just this, so cranium, and then that wedge for the chin. And that helps me to orient things. Don't always have all the time in the world for that, depending on how long you've got for a pose. But, so, let me see what I'm doing here. It is sometimes hard to talk and do this at the same time. I've got him too high. There we go. And they're not always, the circles are not always going to be lined up together. So I've got mine a little too straight. I think he's got just a little bit of a angle here. So I'm going to bring this out over here, because his body is kind of doing this here. It's you've kind of got a little bit of a pinch in here, and then you've got a stretch on this side. So I want to make sure that I show that. So I got some stretch here and some pinch here. So his torso is kind of doing a little bit of this and that, and then here it's more of that, right? So So we've got this angle of the shoulders, and then we've got this angle of the hips, and then we just keep going from there. So we'll say, got the rhythm of his limbs here. It's going to come down. Remember, we know his belly button is right about here. So we've got this arm, and it's coming out, and got this arm, so shoulder, shoulder, arm, like that. So his arm's coming down across the body here. And we've got hip joints, and we've got the leg. So that B curve I was telling you guys about, that's basically like this. So say you drew the leg as a straight line, and then the B would be like that backwards kind of B there. And then here, it's like a B and a B. So here, let's say, okay, so the angle, so we got this joint. So say we want, oh, okay, he's got, say he's got his leg doing that kind of thing, right? And then this other knee is kind of like that. And one is, so we can say his knee's there, and then this is coming out. And we've got the foreshortening, and the foot, yeah. That's probably a little off, but not too bad. So let's see. Now I'm going to take my blue China marker. And alright. Get that out of the way. Alright. So, not bad. Okay, so we've got, I'm going to go through and make adjustments a little bit here. So, I'm going to put, so we've got the neck here, got his shoulders up here. Bicep. And then we basically got the ball here. I probably don't have the ball far enough away from his body, but not going to worry about it. I'm not trying to shoot for perfection. Just indicate the fingers if we want to. And then let's see. So his chest would be covered across there. And his hand is here. It starts to get a little messy. That's why I use the different colors. And actually, let's see. I know you can't understand me when I got a pencil in my mouth. I was trying to say I'll zoom in just a little bit. Hopefully that helps. Alright. So let's see. So we'll come over here. That might be too wide. Yeah, that's too wide. So we're gonna come down here. you're starting to get tired. Ah, my shoulder. Alright, what else do we have? It's actually really helpful to be able to look and see my own drawing over there. It's kind of like standing back a little further. I feel like I'm getting a little jumbled in here, so I've got a lot of lines going on, and I covered up some of his lines here. Probably a little too much. Let's see. I've got the knees. So for the knee joint, guys, right here, what I'm doing in this area, it's like the muscle wraps around the bottom and comes up, so you've got your hamstring, right? And then the knee pops out, and so you come in, and then it's gonna pop out here, and this is gonna be the calf, that part that sticks out, and then the outside is always gonna come up in there, the muscle, and then it's gonna be that longer straight side. So that's how that goes. So when in doubt, the inside of the calf does that round pokey bit. Outside is gonna be more not straight, right, but not so muscly bumpy there. So it's gonna be sort of a curve. So, and then it's attaching in the back of the knee. So, and then I'm gonna draw this for. On a bit here, and then he's got really high socks. And I'm just going to indicate the shoe here. That foot looks so bad. Let's see what we got here. Sock. Tongue of the shoe. Probably wearing Michael Jordans. And then well, I'm not quite, I think I have it too high, but anyway, I have done a really bad foot there. I'm not gonna worry about it. Alright, last bit here is gonna be the hip. Let's see, Ika. It's getting away from me. A little bit of hip. Pants or shorts or whatever. Take out the space. Oh yeah, I had his leg way weird. Way weird. Oh, foreshortening is so weird and sucks so bad. That looks so odd. Not terrible, but just odd. But for the most part, I think we got him. I think the forward motion of this leg makes it look really thin, and I don't know that his leg was actually that thin, but that's supposed to be coming out past there. So, but you know, that's not too bad. Alright, so let me check the chat here. Nobody has any questions? Come on, guys, you don't have questions. Hopefully you're drawing. Maybe that's why. I know it's hard to talk and think and everything and chat it. Well, not hard to talk and think at the same time. That would be counterproductive to the talking. But all right, let's see what do we got. We got. I wonder, is this whole issue? I think this entire issue is Michael Jordan. He's got good poses though. Let's see. That one's a lot like the first one. Oh, that one's pretty cool. What do you think, guys? This one's not bad. Alright, so before we get down to this one, I need to switch my paper. Alright. Alright, so what do we have here? Let's get our Sharpies. We've got... And I'm gonna take... well, I'm gonna close this so that you guys don't see my mug while I do this. That way when I start drawing, my head's not in the way. Okay, here we go. So, line of action, top of the pose does happen to be the head. And then the bottom is just sort of the most thick. So, you could say it's like right between the feet, but this foot comes down longer and extends farther than this leg. So, we're gonna say it's gonna come this way. So, and there's our line of action there, right? Now how clear that is, let's do it this way. Okay, there's the line of action. He is twisting a bit, but, oh, excuse me. That doesn't actually change our bean situation. It just means that we are only seeing, we're kind of seeing this deal here. Let me draw it. We're seeing, so here's the side. If you're thinking of the torso as a box, right? We're seeing something kind of like that. Right, we're not seeing the whole thing, but it's kind of going off into space, so we see that, right? So here's here's the shoulder, his chest is here, some of his back is on this side, right? And then we've got a little bit of neck and head coming up from there, and arm, all that. So that's kind of what we're seeing. Oops, can you guys see that? Sorry, I didn't mean for it to be too high. There we go. So the next part of the bean is called the robo bean, which I'm not gonna lie, I'm not really a fan of it, but there are situations where it's helpful, and all it is saying, okay, so here's your bean, right? And it's telling you, okay, here's your chest, and like here's your pectoral muscle area, and it turns this into a box, right? And then you got your guts in there, so you just use a little ball, and then you've got your actual hips. And that's basically what the robo bean does, is it starts to mannequinize it so that you can have an easier time visualizing planes. But I tend to prefer to just do the bean and then, you know, have the angles of things. And then I don't mind putting the ball in, but then for the hips, I'll either just use like the cylinder, because then you can just place the hip joints down there, right? Or I might actually do the box, because it's more, let's see, it's more like that. It's kind of odd. Trying to find the planes in a more organic form of the bean was never felt terribly intuitive to me. It's okay, but eh. So anyway, over here we've got our line of action. So let's see, we'll find our top part of our bean and bottom part of our bean here. Right, he's got the hip thing there, and he's got one there. So we're This is why I tell people not to poo-poo on stick figures, right? Because that's essentially what we're putting on top of this so that we can simplify it to understand what it is we're trying to, what we're seeing, so that we can draw it. Right? Okay, so over here, we're gonna go and ghost it. So, right, and put give some space, right? There's a little space there. Let's see. And it helps to understand, like, there's more of a stretch here and a little bit of pinch there. And I got that. And then the knees are gonna line up a little bit because they line up like that on that angle. Right, and then we can't see his other arm, and that's okay, so we're just gonna put the shoulder, that's gonna stay, you see how it stays inside, his shoulder joint is still kind of inside the bounds of his torso there, so it means it's not lifted up out here, it's not extended up out past it. Those kinds of things help us to place things, so I'm like, okay, I have to stay inside, and then there's only a little bit of space between him and his head and his wrist is here, and then we'll just put the ball there, right? And we'll just indicate his hand. And that's that. So now we got all of our line of action, bean and everything. So now I'll take my different color. We'll fill out a little bit. I can see that I probably have this a little too short. So if I say, okay, here's his neck, and I actually have, I could see ear here. I'm not going to go through and do the whole head, but I'm trying to make sure that I have things placed relatively accurately. The thing is that his chin is up, so that's the hard part. His chin is up, but we could see the rest of his neck. And then it's obscured by his hand a little bit. So that's all. Gets to be a little more involved with the details. So we'll put his eye line. Alright. Arm. And we got his chest is pretty well in line with the bean part here. And then his pants start to come out like that. And his thighs. Just a little bit high on the knee that time. There's the calf there. That's that sock. Alrighty. I need scissors to cut this string off. Alright, so then we've got, you know, sock. He's got long legs, and I am, for some reason, I keep making his legs too short. But that's okay. I'm noticing this issue, and I can, if I was going to draw him a lot, I could work on it. I feel like that's part of my rustiness, where I keep making things a little too short. Alright. So then we've got the back part here. If you guys are able to follow along, not necessarily draw the way I draw, but just, you know, follow along. That'll be helpful to you in your practice here. So let's see. Got a little bit of an angle for his bootay. I'm telling y'all, I need my glasses. My eyeballs are not working the same that they should. I feel like my tracking with my eyes is not the way that it usually is, and it's very annoying. But whatever. We will make do, or I will make do. Alright. So since I made this leg probably just slightly too short at first, that means that this knee needs to come down also. So we've got, yeah, it's more down here. Not a lot. That's not too bad. He's got this kind of like bulge in his thigh muscle. And there's calf. And then I've gotten this foot way too short, right? So here's the top of the sock. Let's move folks out a bit here. So now I have to actually, the sock is down here. And then his shoe. Why I keep making it sit like it's short. Yeah, not too bad though. What do you guys think? Came along pretty well. I feel like his top part is a little wide. I think I probably made his badonkey donk booty a little. I probably gave him more of a butt than he actually has in this picture. See, I've got probably needs to be a little bit further in here or something like that. And let's see, what did we do? What did I do? Yeah, I probably need them a little less wide or something like that, but we got all of the important stuff. I also think that I probably made his, I think I probably made his torso a little short. So let's see. He's got this. Yeah, his torso is probably a little short, and then his arm's supposed to be here. So that means that his torso is not a lot, just a little bit. But that's not too bad. Alrighty. Can you guys let me know in the chat if, oh, looks great. Well done. Thank you. Will live. Thank you. Thanks for joining. Like how you outline and enhance the sketch with the China blue. Yes, it's very helpful. When you guys have, what do you say? When you're doing perspective or when you're doing practice that you'll then sort of go and adjust or check to make sure, you check for width, you check for your angles, check for your proportions, all that kind of stuff. It is very helpful to have different colors. I actually wish I had a few more colors of China marker because I'll have to get some, just because so the setup is in the black lithographic crayon, and then the China marker helps when it's time to build out the rest of it. And then you're welcome. And then another color, preferably like a green, not necessarily red, because red is like everybody, we all associate that with, you got an incorrect mark on your homework or something, right? And they're trying to show you where you got it wrong. And it just stands out really well. But other colors are helpful for showing yourself, okay, this is what I have or had, and then this is where I've adjusted. And that's going to better illustrate for your brain that, no, it's not that you did anything wrong, but like, here are some adjustments. Here's where they were made. Here's why they were made. And that just makes it, I don't know, it helps the learning a lot, So, you guys do me a favor and are we good? Do you guys feel like you've had enough for today? Because I know I can tend to go on a bit. We've had a few figures. Does anybody have any questions? Does anybody want to see one more? Or are you guys good? This is enough information for you to absorb. What do you think? Let me know soon so I'm not just staring off at you guys and doing nothing. Because I really want to make sure that I'm actually serving you guys as far as what you need. And if I don't know what you need, it's kind of me just assuming. Good. I'm glad it makes sense. Okay, so the $1 million question right now is, does anybody have any questions about any of this stuff or any of these drawings? Let's see. Let me get the other one. All right. Does anybody have any? I'll just tear this off. Any questions about any of this stuff? Anything that anybody wants to see? Yes, no? So I really want to make sure it's okay if you guys, thank you, Will. Yeah, it is a lot. It's just, I'm trying to balance, right, between giving you guys, digestible amounts of information and useful, helpful information with the demonstration. And when you take the information with the demonstration, it becomes a lot. And then I'm trying to balance being helpful with too much information vomit on you guys, because I can get into the weeds, but that doesn't work for everybody, or at least not all in one sitting. So I think we'll go ahead and call it here. And then I really would be super helped if you guys could go. I did a community post about what I'm wondering what you guys would like to see for summer. Summer is always a different time for everybody, right? Vacation, kids off from school and all that. So thank you, Will. I don't know how many people is everyone. I think it's 5 of us, or 5 of you guys, because I'm pretty sure they don't count me. Hi. But let's go ahead and call it here, and I'm gonna wrap up. So if anybody has any questions about the line of action, the bean, the drawing over the top, really, I should leave you guys with this. My point here today was demonstrating the line of action and the bean. And then I showed you guys you know, here how you give yourself the balls for the joints and the rhythm of the legs and stuff, right? Arms and legs. Thank you, Will. It's really helpful that you're interactive on the chat, like seriously. So it's really hard to get anybody to say anything in the chat, so thank you so much. When you guys are practicing, if you're practicing for whatever your reference is, whether it's from my videos on my channel or from a magazine, other photo reference, pictures of your family, whatever it is, if you only get to this stage, right, where you've got the line of action and you've got the bean, you're good. Okay, make sure you put the cranium for the head in, right? But if that's as far as you get right now, if that's as far as makes sense to you, then you're good. All right, I don't want everybody thinking that you need to immediately go from what I showed you in the line of action and bean straight to what I'm doing. This is more advanced. It just is. It's taking steps from, like, you're going from the bean and the line of action all the way up to more realistic drawing. But I'm showing you guys the entire process, right? Because last time I showed you guys a little bit of the mannequinization, which was let me see. Let me try to find that for you guys, because I did some live drawing. Oh, there's so many old drawings in here. Where are? I can't find them. Oh well. You know what? You guys have the reference of the last stream. You can fast forward through that. Sorry. I don't have all. I mean, I have drawings in here, right? But they're not showing you what I'm talking about. Yes, exactly. Well, crawl before you can walk. It's just really important to remember. I know everybody feels like it's like kind of cliche, like, oh yeah, crawl before you can walk, blah blah blah, and people feel bored or whatever. But that's how you get to where you want to be. You're not going to quickly. It is not quick. Period. I mean, I have years and years of, you know, pads like this, full of drawings, and a lot of them are very bad to my standard of bad, right? But I've been doing figure drawing, quick pose drawing since I was 19. So I've been doing this over 20 years, you know, not like every day, but for a period of years when I went back to school at Gemini, I was doing it every day for an hour and a half every morning. And on Mondays, it was like, oh gosh, on Mondays, it was like 3 hours. The first 3 or 4 hours of my day was just this, right? Quick pose and still life, life drawing with someone, with a model just sitting. So I say all that to say, if you focus on grasping each step of the process before you move on to the next one. I'm showing you the next one so that if you feel like you get it, then you can just be like, oh, hey, she showed me, and so I'm just gonna, I'm gonna off-road, I'm gonna go and do my thing and figure it out, right? Hi, Mike. Yes, well, it is a lot of experience, and I'm trying to, my goal is to share it because I don't think anybody needs to reinvent the wheel, and also that's why I have my channel the way I have it, because when I moved here to the Austin area back in 2006, there was like one place to go do figure drawing, and they have a schedule and everything like everybody else, but they were only downtown. There was not a lot of parking. It was kind of a sketchy feeling area. So this at least gives everybody an opportunity to have a free resource, and then a leveled up, more robust resource with the channel memberships to practice the figure in all the different ways that you need to practice it. Because believe it or not, I don't know how many people on here are trying to do hobbies, or if you want to do character design or you want to do illustration or whatever. All of these lessons apply to whatever you want to draw. I haven't forgotten that Tara, a viewer of mine and family member to my partner, had asked for a fundamentals of drawing kind of like class. So I am working on putting that together, and I am going to make it available. Some of it will be available just on the regular side of YouTube so that everybody has a chance to at least get a leg up, right, from wherever they are. And then I'll have some of the more involved stuff be on the channel member side, just because the only way I'm going to be able to do this full time one day is if I eventually, get it to earn enough money. And the only way I can get it to earn enough money is if I actually have it cost money, right? So, but yeah, if you guys think of any questions after the stream, please don't hesitate to comment on this video or in the community post. And please, please, please go and respond to that community post asking about the summer, because I want to do something different from the, here are some videos I post every week. Here's a live video model or drawing thing. I want to change that up for the summer, and I'm hoping that it can be something that will suit, what everybody's doing in the summer, suit some of the summer interests, lean into some things that are maybe a little bit more fun or interesting as far as subject matter to draw or topics that you might be interested in. So if you guys could think on that, what you might like or be interested in, and comment on that post at any time. It's not just for summer. If there's anything that you guys are interested in seeing or knowing, please let me know, and I'd be happy to do my best to make some content around that. And then I'll just keep doing what I think is going to work based on the walls I hit when I was learning. So yeah. All right. You guys have a happy Saturday. Enjoy your rest. And we will be back on, where's my phone? We will be back with a model on the 22nd. Nico is going to model some martial arts stuff, kind of like traditional martial arts stuff with the hat and everything and the loose clothing. One day we will do Raiden. It's gonna be good. What's your question? How much would it be to redo a new profile pic avatar for your channel that doesn't involve arcades? All right. Yes. Good night, Will. You're very welcome. I enjoy doing this kind of thing. As far as your question, Mike, you'd have to send me more information. It would depend on how involved your profile avatar thing is, because if it's a picture of you or a version of you, then it's probably not going to be too much, because I don't have to invent anything. I don't have to design too much. If you want a full-on character design, it's a little different, because it just takes more time and uses up more of my brain expertise, right? So, all right. So we're going to call that good for today. Thank you guys so much for joining. I always appreciate it when you guys join. It's a lot more fun and interesting to draw and comment with people back and forth than it is to draw and see the 0 viewers, which happens. It's fine. I know that, this isn't everybody's cup of tea, or just a lot of people maybe don't know about my channel or something. I don't know. We'll see. All right. You guys have a good Saturday. Enjoy your Saturday night. Stay safe. Stay warm if you're in one of the cold places. We are in the 80s in February here in Texas, and it's terrible. Terrible. Should not be this hot in February. Anyway, all right. Mwah. Love and happy drawing. Bye-bye. See you next time.